How do you file your tax returns complying with norms of GST and which one is applicable to you? First of all, you need to log in to the GST portal. From there, go to Services tab, then choose Returns and select Returns Dashboard. Now you have the File Returns page displayed in front of you. You need to select the financial year and return filing period for which you are required to file the return. A regular taxpayer under GST is required to file 2 monthly returns and 1 annual return. However, there are special category taxpayers registered under GST who need to furnish separate returns. These taxpayers include non-resident taxable persons, taxpayers registered under the composition scheme, persons allotted with unique identification number, input service distributors, and persons required to deduct TDS or collect TCS, which is tax collection at source. Remember that after uploading invoices, your outward return, inward return, and cumulative monthly return have to be filed online. The current system of GST return filing requires a taxpayer to update outward supplies information in GSTR 1 and then file a summary return in GSTR 3B. All other forms like GSTR 2 and GSTR 3 have been suspended for the time being. Let's look at the types of GST returns, starting with GSTR 1. GSTR 1 is a return filed for outward supplies. This monthly return showcases the sales transactions done for business in a particular month. Every normal registered taxpayer under GST is required to file GSTR 1 every month. This return would have details of invoices, debit notes, credit notes, and revised invoices issued pertaining to your outward supplies. And the due date for filing GSTR 1 is by the 10th of the subsequent month. For example, if you're filing for July 2020, it has to be done on or before the 10th of August, which is the subsequent month. GSTR 2 is a return filed for inward supplies, and it contains details with regards to purchases made by the recipient in a particular month. Normally, information for GSTR 2 is automatically populated from GSTR 2A, and GSTR 2A can only be viewed, which means you can't modify it. It's only a read-only document. GSTR 2A gets auto-populated once the supplier uploads their details in GSTR 1 pertaining to a sales made, which will reflect in the recipient's inward supplies. GSTR 2A enables the recipient to verify the details uploaded by the supplier in GSTR 1. The recipient could accept, reject, or modify, and if there are any changes made by the recipient, it should only be in GSTR 2. This process of making changes and filing GSTR 2 needs to be done on or before the 15th of the subsequent month. GSTR 3 is meant for filing returns payable and has two parts, Part A and Part B. However, due to technical snag and for want of better process streamlining, GSTR 3B has been introduced for now. GSTR 3B is a simplified monthly summary return filing of both inward and outward supplies. It is a self-declaration filing showcasing summary of GST liabilities of the taxpayer for the specified tax period. GSTR 3B filing enables taxpayers to skip GSTR 1 and 2 in the interim because of the current technical gaps in GSTR returns filing and straightaway proceed to GSTR 3B filing. GSTR 3B must be submitted by the 20th of the subsequent month. In case no transactions have been undertaken in a particular month, the registered person needs to file nil return for that period. For composition dealers who do not collect output tax from their customers, GSTR 4 is the one that needs to be filed. Under this scheme, taxpayers with turnover less than Rs 1.5 crores need to pay tax at a fixed rate and file quarterly return, that is 4 times in a year. The due date for filing GSTR 4 is 18th of the subsequent month following the quarter for which such a return needs to be filed. For example, ABC Private Limited is a composition dealer who needs to file his GST return for the quarter January to March 2020. The due date for filing GSTR 4, therefore, would be the month following March, ending the first quarter, starting January, which is April and latest by the 18th of April. Next is GSTR 5. GSTR 5 is a return filing applicable for non-resident taxable persons. This return includes details pertaining to inward and outward supplies, interest or penalty fees, tax paid and tax payable information, which is due, tax due, and is only return to be filed by a non-resident taxable person. GSTR 5 needs to be filed within 20 days after the end of the calendar month or within 7 days after the last date of validity of the registration. Apart from these, you also need to be aware of a few more returns filings. GSTR 7 is a monthly return that is required to be filed by the deductors who are required to deduct TDS, that is tax deduction at source under GST, and this is required to be filed by the deductor within 10 days after the end of the month in which the deduction was made. For example, the due date for filing GSTR 7 for the month of July 2020 would be the 10th of August 2020. GSTR 8 is a monthly return furnished by every electronic commerce operators, e-commerce operators, and they are required to deduct tax collected at source under GST. So the last date to file GSTR 8 is the 10th of the subsequent month for which TCS, that is tax collected at source, is to be collected. GSTR 9 is the annual return applicable for normal registered taxpayer under GST. The return needs to be furnished on or before the 31st day of December following the end of such financial year. Remember, this is an annual return. GSTR 9A is an annual return filed by a composition dealer containing details that relate to the quarterly returns filed by him during the year across 4 quarters, and this needs to be furnished on or before the 31st day of December following the end of such a financial year. GSTR 9B is the annual return applicable for e-commerce operators collecting TCS. All the e-commerce taxpayers are required to file GSTR 9B on or before 31st December following the close of the financial year. Next is GSTR 9C, and this is a return filing applicable for registered persons getting their accounts audited from chartered accountants. Every registered person having an annual aggregate turnover of more than Rs 2 crores during a financial year must get their accounts audited by a chartered accountant or cost accountant. Basically, GSTR 9C is a reconciliation statement, and the reconciling value of supplies declared in annual return with the audited annual accounts is what that matters. The due date for filing GSTR 9C is same as that for filing annual returns in GSTR 9. GSTR 10 is a return applicable for a registered person whose GST registration gets cancelled. GSTR 10 is filed electronically through the common portal, either directly or through a facilitation center as prescribed by the Commissioner. The intent of filing this final return is to make sure that the taxpayer pays off any outstanding liability and should be done within 3 months from the date of cancellation of their registration. GSTR 11 is a return to be furnished by a person who has been allotted a unique identification number, UIN, and the UIN is issued so that the registered person obtaining the number can claim refunds for GST paid on goods and services purchased by them in India. For example, UN agencies or embassies and consulates who have their offices in India. The due date for filing GSTR 11 is the 28th of the subsequent month. GSTR 11 is not filed on a monthly basis and is filed on a case-to-case basis as and when supplies are made. Are there penalty fees applicable for late filing of returns? And the answer is yes. You better be punctual on that one, or else would end up paying late fees. The fine amounts to a sum of rupees 200, that is rupees 100 for CGST and rupees 100 for SGST, for each day of continuing default, and this is subject to a maximum of rupees 5,000. However, there is no late fee for IGST. Interest penalty is also levied at 18% per annum. This interest is calculated by the registered taxpayer on the amount of tax liability outstanding. Interest calculation starts from the first day of default until the date of payment of tax by the taxpayer. A quick reference to the various GSTR forms and a brief note could be found below in the description box. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you have, please make use of the comment box below, and I shall definitely try my best to answer them. Thank you very much.